Yeah, I think so I mentioned last week I was trying Switchboard. Now I'm trying StreamYard, like you mentioned, because it's a little less expensive. And I'm going to test that out this coming week. Switchboard works really well. But I know the StreamYard's a little bit less expensive per month. So I'm going to see if that works just as well. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've been watching Ryan use it. So it's
okay.
Cool. Especially for guests, like bringing guests in. It's really cool.
Oh, good.
Because they can actually be in a green room before they come in.
Oh, nice.
We can see them, but like the audience can't.
Okay.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. 3, 2, and 1. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean, today we're going to be talking, we're going to continue in the book. What is it? How do you even know the name? Thinking Fast and Slow. Right now I'm thinking slow and not
thinking
so fast.
Slow and trying to grab the book fast. What is this we're talking about? I don't know. I was just going to compliment you on your intro, and you just got that down with the persuasion by the pint. You got that rhythm down and everything, that crispness of the pee. At least on the first episode. Second episode is not as crisp after the beers hit, but like
persuasion. Yeah. No, totally blew it with the book, but yeah, thinking fast and slow. So, and by the second episode, after we've had a few beers, it'll be thinking slower, and
who cares?
Fast. Who cares? Nothing's fast.
Exactly. So I sometimes wonder, like, I know we say it, but I wonder if people can actually tell a difference between the episodes on recording days, like between number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
Probably.
Especially when you have the high gravity.
Yeah. Especially by the end of the episode too. So,
I think sometimes we both have enough self-awareness when we stumble over some words. And so we know it's like that second episode where we hit some words which are normally easy. And then we just kind of stumble over them. And we from a cognitive standpoint, we're like, oh man,
yep,
I think it's starting to take effect.
Yep. That's where that good military training comes in, though.
That's right.
All right.
Self-awareness, got to cut it off. So that's enough for me.
Yep. All right. So yeah, I've got my notes. You've got the book. And but before
we're going to be talking cognitive ease. Why is that such a hard word?
I haven't even drank it yet. Again,
maybe I should just.
Maybe you have been. I don't know. I don't see what happens before the Zoom comes on, so I don't know.
No, nothing. But actually, I had a sparkling water with a touch of right before the show. So that, I guess that counts. That doesn't count as a beer, but
a touch of what?
It's one of those. The new what is it? The alcohol seltzers
with the Bear Claws or something.
Yeah, it's not a Bear Claw. It's a Budweiser.
Oh, Budweiser. Okay.
So one of my, I think
you're stealing your wife's stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she normally drinks that stuff, but I'm like, I had lunch earlier today, and I really didn't want just a plain water, and she had one of these. It was like a cherry flavored. So I thought I'm going to give this a try and see what it tastes like. It's not good.
Not good.
I'll stick to the beer.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about cognitive dissonance, right? Or cognitive ease, actually.
Ease. Yeah.
Or something like that.
Something.
One of the two. One of the two. We'll figure it out by the time we get there.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about mental shortcuts as well, and how they're always happening, and maybe even how we can use them. So, and something important, especially in the area of persuasion, like how you can use them to your advantage.
Sure.
These shortcuts that other people have.
Yep.
So, but before we do that, you like my shirt? I got the,
Ooh. Death. Wait, say something.
Death Wish.
Death
coffee.
Wish.
Death Wish.
Very
coffee.
Nice.
So this is the worst coffee on earth with the best marketing. Like it's great marketing, but it's some weird, it's not, most coffee is an Arabica bean. This one's like some other kind of bean, and it tastes like burnt popcorn and rubber. That was one of the reviews I saw on it. And I was like, can't be that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was.
Yeah. It's like 750 milligrams of caffeine per cup. Now,
Wow.
like normal coffee is like 200.
Yeah.
So, or 150 even, depending on what you drink. But yeah, so crazy. But I
So
love the
you're
shirt
giving him
though.
a promotion. Very good.
Yeah, I love the shirt though.
You gave him kind of a backhanded.
I haven't. To be fair, they have other blends that are
Yeah.
more typical.
Sure.
But this is like the Death Wish coffee, the 750 milligrams of caffeine. So
Very nice.
I don't know why I went there, but I just noticed it in the monitor. So let's talk beer instead of coffee. That's a different show.
I just looked in the participants and I noticed you're posing as Ryan Miranda.
Am I really? See, this is one of those Zoom things, right? So let me change.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me change my name. I only have to go to court for this. Watch this.
You can be Ryan if you want. I mean,
boom.
With the logo and everything. Ah, there you go. Look at that.
There we go. So yes. So like I have a couple different, because of the clients and things like that, I have different accounts that I have to log in and out of for Zoom.
Right. Yep.
And it remembers like the last one I was in. And it carries it over even if I click on like your link.
Yeah.
It carries the last time I was logged into Zoom over. It's weird. But anyway, so what are you drinking?
All right. Well, today I've got a newfound love of Founders.
That's like a guaranteed win. I mean, like you're not even taking risk anymore. I mean, you're going straight to the Founders shelf.
Yep. It's a single, last week I was at Total Wine and More. So I picked up several singles I mentioned last episode, or one of the last episodes. And so I kind of loaded up on singles thinking, I'll just keep these, I've kind of cut back on drinking as much beer throughout the week. It's usually I'll have a glass of wine, or like yourself, I'll have a glass of bourbon.
Yeah.
If I drink at all, but I'm really, this pandemic has actually been great because I've actually lost about eight pounds.
Wow.
Just in the last 4 weeks. So, and a lot of that's just, part of it's exercise, part of it's cutting back on the beer and saving that, for the weekend. So, so anyway, that works out really well, picking up singles. And one of the singles I picked up is the Founders Mass Agave. Let's see, Mass Agave. You see that?
Yeah, that's like getting out there for Founders.
Yeah. So let me give you a little description. This is a bourbon. This is a bourbon or a barrel aged series. It is a barrel aged imperial lime. Is it Gose? 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 Would you call it? Because I mean, the first thing when I first looked at it, I was like, goose? No, that's not goose.
Goosey?
That's Gose. Goosey? Gose?
I
don't know. It says this is a 10% ABV.
All right.
20 IBUs. So, I don't know what to expect. It's got some, I'm expecting a little bit of lime and bourbon in this. So we'll see.
Seems like that. Yeah, I can't wait to hear about that. So where's my opener? Yeah. So I just went with, while you're pouring, let's see what that, so that's definitely an ale. So we're both doing ales today.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice head too.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. So what do you got?
Yeah. So I have got a barley wine style ale. So I don't know if this is going to be super hoppy or what, but it's called Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. Interesting name.
Yeah. So working in the hill country from a foundation of time-honored brewing tradition, Real Ale believes minimal processing produces maximum flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm expecting this to be pretty hoppy, probably. And not super crafty, but I figured I'd give it a try. So Sisyphus, that's a famous character in mythology, or in I think Greek. Do you know this? Do you remember the story? Because I don't.
No, and I feel like I know my Greek mythology and my a lot of my history there pretty well. Yeah. I don't remember a Sisyphus, so I missed that one.
Yeah, I didn't look it up before. 'Cause
Sisyphus. How's that spelled?
it is spelled Sisyphus. Sisyphus.
All right, let's find out. Let's do a little research. Ah, you're right. It's a figure. It is a figure from Greek mythology who, as king of Corinth, became infamous for his general trickery and twice cheating death. All right, Sean, you're in good company here.
Yeah.
Drinking this.
Yes.
He ultimately got his.
Well, if you get a beer named after you, better be pretty cool, right? I mean, you got to have something going.
So he ultimately got his comeuppance from when Zeus dealt him the eternal punishment of forever rolling a boulder up a hill in the depth of Hades. Okay, so that's okay. So all right, I didn't know that was Sisyphus. Sisyphus.
And this, he's rolling a barrel uphill. Like you can see the logo there on the. So yeah, so that was that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew the symbol on the thing. I just couldn't remember the whole story.
Yeah.
Little weak in my Greek mythology. I've moved on to, more the Marvel world of mythology, and
that's our modern day Greek
yeah,
mythology,
it's more Norse mythology, I guess.
Avengers. Yeah.
So somebody needs to come out with a whole line of Greek. I guess they tried that back in the day, right? Clash of the Titans.
Oh yeah.
All that stuff. Those were awful. So, well, cheers. We've got a very similar color going on here.
Yeah. There we go. Oh man.
Is that your first loser for Founders?
I think so, man. That hit me completely different. It is very tart.
Very tart, really.
Very tart for a Founders. So
yeah,
the lime just kind of hits you in the mouth. So maybe it needs to
breathe a little bit.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. You'll give it plenty of time, I'm sure.
How about you?
It's actually pretty good. It's got like a little bit of a sweetness to it. Definitely has like the more, a little bit more bitterness than I'm used to, but
yeah,
it's actually pretty good. Like I think that'll sip nicely.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised. Actually, it's hard to describe. I was expecting pretty like almost like a little stronger than a lager, but like an ale. But this has a little bit more sweetness to it than I was expecting. Now I'm curious. Like, I was looking for the ABV. My guess is it's pretty high.
So it's fun. Before you tried it, you thought it would be hoppy, but you said it's sweeter than you thought.
Yeah, but it's got that mix. It's got like the sweet start and then the more bitter finish.
Okay.
So it's like it's a little of both. I'm trying to see Real Ale Brewing out of Blanco, Texas. Am I 21? Yep, let me in. Yeah. Isn't that the weirdest thing, like on a website? Are you 21? Yeah. Okay.
All you got to do is click the button. You bet.
It's like, am I going to get drunk by being on the website? I mean, how does that work? So yeah.
While you're looking that, I'm turning my heater off. Hold on.
Okay. This is where the edit will happen. So interesting. You remember I had the Commissar a little while back?
Yeah.
So the same company.
Oh, okay.
So this is a 10.5. And it is. Wow. It's a 75 IBUs. So that's pretty high.
That is extremely high.
It says, due to popular demand, inspired by the labor-intensive process of brewing this beer in our original brew house, Sisyphus was our first seasonal release. Due to popular demand, it moved to our year-round lineup. Mm-hmm. Complex citrus notes provided by a healthy portion of hops are balanced by the rich toffee undertones of the malt. Bold, intense, and warming quality makes it a great nightcap vintage dated. Drink it now and save some for later. So yeah, I'm actually really like it. It says food pairings would be creme brulee, and I could see that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So it does have that just a little bit of sweetness of toffee, little citrus, and then it finishes out with a little bit bitter, the hops. So yeah. So on our
On your
scale,
what would you give it?
What's our scale go to? 4 or 5?
It's 5 pints out of a 5 pints. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give this I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Good. I think you'll be on the other end of the scale from.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. So I've this is my fourth. I've taken my fourth sip since we first poured, and it's not getting any better. I'm looking at Founders, their website. So it says they have a quote from a famous brewmaster who says, "Mass agave is unlike any beer I've had before," and I can relate to that. It's unlike any beer because I mean this is tart.
At least it's honest advertising, right?
He says
that's a great example of how to take a testimonial.
That's right.
And like vaguely turn it into something sort of positive. Like just I always joke about DiGiorno's, right? The DiGiorno pizza. They're like, it's not delivery. And I'm like, you're right.
You're absolutely right.
Delivery is much better. So be careful when you pick your slogans because they can be used against you.
That's right. Because this is truth in advertising. It is unlike any beer I've ever had before. He says it's one of those beers that defies description and demands that you try it for yourself. Well, man, I've tried it, and I'm going to give this one I'm going to give it like a 1 pint out of 5, man. And I feel bad because it's like Founders is one of those
go-tos. Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong there, but ooh, this is not a winner for me. I just don't like it. That lime is just so strong. It's almost like, when you, I don't know if you ever drink tequila and you got the salt and the lime.
Yeah.
And then you take a shot. Well, it's almost like when you first take a sip of this, it's like when you suck on the lime and the salt after you drink the tequila. That's what hits you when you first take a sip of this.
Wow. That's strong.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like just guzzling lime and salt.
Yeah.
But anyway, I will endure. Like I said, maybe maybe the air, maybe the
15 minutes or so. We'll see what happens.
Who knows? Yeah, we'll see.
Because that does happen.
If it does change, I promise in all fairness, I'll give it an upgrade if it does change over time, and I'll give it an upgrade near the end of the show. So
yeah, you might have to put it in like an aerator. Go get your wine aerator and aerate that sucker out. So
that's right.
All right. So thinking fast and slow, or slow and fast, or whichever order it was.
Yes. Thinking slow and fast and cognitive ease.
Yeah. So you mentioned before the show, like this book is not one that you can fly through. So we're gonna hit just another little section of it, and then come back to it on the episode after next.
It did. One of the things I want to mention, though, in this section on cognitive ease, it brings to mind another book. You texted me a list of books, I think a couple of weeks ago. And I ended up ordering I think it was like 3 or 4 of the books that you sent me on the list. And I forgot what the title of the list was that you sent. But one of the books that I picked up was one called, it's by a guy named Josh Burnoff. Interesting name, Burnoff. Writing Without Bullshit or BS.
Yeah, great title.
So it's on, basically having clear writing. So when I was going through the whole cognitive ease section in this book that we're discussing, I started thinking about this and going through kind of cross-referencing with some of the stuff that he's putting in here. And so it's a good follow-up on something like this, how you write really clearly, simply, so that it's more persuasive. So I do recommend this book too, and maybe down the road we can.
Yeah, so I was curious about that one. That was one of the ones that caught my attention. By the way, the list is from Digital Marketer.
Oh, okay. That's right.
my boys right down the road here in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called DM Reading List, 11 copywriting book recommendations from Engage members.
Yeah.
So if you just did a search for digital marketer 11 copywriting books, that'd probably be the fastest way to find it. We can put a link as well.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see. Yeah. So I was curious about this one because I didn't know if it was going to be like a Strunk and White or a, Writing Well by William Zinsser. Like it was just going to be like just about writing, or if it was going to be more on persuasion. I wasn't quite sure which way it would go.
I think it's eliminating, and it applies to writing, whether you're writing blogs, copywriting, whether you're writing emails, you name it, but it's just eliminating some of the things that aren't that are redundant and that are overused and that are lazy words that people often try to get away with. So
yeah, we'll definitely have to do this one because I see this. I do a lot of editing of copy now in the position I'm in. And one of the biggest things I see is just people writing with a passive voice.
Yeah, right.
And the verb is at the end of the sentence instead of the beginning of the sentence.
Sure.
Little things like that. So yeah, that'd be a good episode to pull out here in a few weeks. I'll go ahead and get me a copy as well.
Very good.
So, but before we do that, we should just finish the book we're on here, or at least cover the book we're on. Now that we're like 80 minutes into the episode.
All right, so I'm going to jump in first on cognitive ease. So he breaks it down. This Daniel Kahneman, the author of the book. So he talks about how the human brain thinks in two different systems. One is a system 1 and one is a system 2. System 1 is the everyday thinking that takes place automatically without having done a whole lot of, really putting in a lot of mental work. So, for instance, somebody to ask you what's 2 + 2 without even thinking, you're going to say 4. Where does the sun rise? Well, most people, without even thinking, you can say, well, it rises in the east. Okay. Yep. So those are just mental things that are repetitive that we've been meant to, just somebody, asks us a question. We just give them an answer just like that. System 2, though, is consciously guided thinking, which is associated with a large amount of effort for our brains. And it proceeds a little more slowly. So it requires a little more exertion, logic, calculation. So
for instance, like, what is my wife thinking right now? Is she
There's
got
to be a system 3 for that.
Is she mad? Is this a trap? I don't know.
Yeah, that would fit definitely into system 2, if not a beyond.
There's no system for that.
There's no system, right? Exactly. Yeah, that's a trap. So you don't want to fall prey to any part of that. But no, it's so that's how our brain, he kind of breaks it down into 2 systems. So when in marketing, in persuasive writing, and there's a section in the book called How to Write Persuasively. And so, or how to write a persuasive message. And so the way that you get through, and we've talked about this, I mean, we can reinforce this time and time again, but what you want to do when you're writing persuasively is kind of feed into the system 1 mind, because our minds are that's where they gravitate to. It's to take the path of least resistance. So, so when we address our customers in newsletters or persuasive copy, we want to address people on that level. So the way they do it, and he identifies some like 4 factors to create a feeling of cognitive ease. And it's repeat the experience, clear display, prime the idea, in good mood. So we talked about kind of priming on the last episode. A primed idea, kind of any stimulus that activates a certain memory to certain content. So we associate something, and that makes it easier for us to understand once that stimulus is introduced into our mind. So
Right.
it's much easier to remember. So
Just
I
like,
mean, so you want to, repeated experience. What is the old marketing acumen? The more you repeat. I think years ago, I think the first time I ever heard like the rule of 7 in marketing was J. Conrad Levinson, where he said, a message has to repeat. It was I think he either 7 or 9 times,
right. Yeah.
so it's got to be repeated continually, in front of us. So,
Yeah. And that works. I mean, that repetition absolutely works. Another
Yep.
thing that came to mind while you were saying that was the old tell them what you're going to tell them.
Yes.
Tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Right.
Like I remember in sales, that was like one of the formulas that we had, or in speech, in when I've given talks, my mentors have said, hey, here's the 3 pieces. Like, so instead of saying intro, body, conclusion, it's right. I mean, even if you go back to high school, the 5-part essay, right? Part 1, tell them what you're going to tell them.
Right.
Part 2, tell them the 3 points or whatever you got. And then conclusion is tell them what you just told them.
Yep.
So it's kind of similar to that. You want to prime them. If you think of this like an actual pump. I mean, you and I grew up in the country. Did you ever have a well growing up?
Oh, we sure did.
Yeah.
When I was growing up in South Georgia, we had a well. Yeah.
Yeah. So every once in a while the power goes out, pump loses its prime. So you got to take like a gallon jug of water. You got to pour it down in the little thing.
Right.
And it primes it. And then you either pump it, or even in the old days when you had to pump by hand.
Oh man.
You got to, priming and pumping is not the same thing. Like if you don't do one without the other,
right,
it doesn't do any good. Too many people just start pumping,
right,
and there's no prime.
Right.
So it's a good old country boy analogy right there. Most people
there you go.
may not know that very well.
Yeah, a lot of people listening are like, what are they talking about?
What's a pump?
A well?
Well,
who's got a well anymore?
If you live out in the country, you might still have one. But yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's crazy. Like we had the little building out kind of away from the house, and we were always worried about it freezing. So you put a light bulb in there in the winter to make sure it stays just warm enough that it doesn't freeze and all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, you got to prime it and then pump it, and then you can get the water out. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So what is this cognitive ease? So what's the purpose of it, and why do we want to use it? What's it lead to? So he talks about there's 4 conditions are the outcome of using cognitive ease, in your writing. Anything that feels familiar, feels true, it feels good, or feels effortless. So let me repeat that. Feels familiar, feels true, feels good, feels effortless. So you think about the effortless, we've talked about some of the phrases out there in terms of effortless, simple things that are simple statements or phrases or things that slogans people use.
7-minute abs or 6-minute abs.
Yep, exactly.
Or 5, whatever's fastest.
Yep. Yeah. And in fact, in the chapter, he talks about the use of, you just said 7-minute abs or using phrases that rhyme. Or another way of using cognitive ease. So if you can come up with a slogan or a rhyme in your ad or something like that, then our minds are obviously primed in that system. One, we remember it, and we gravitate to that because it's easy to remember. It's easy path. So think of I'm trying to think one off the top of my head, but I can't really think of a phrase that rhymes. Can you think of a marketing?
Alliteration is the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like quick copy, is one that you see a lot. Yeah. Now that you put me on the spot, like I'm sure the listeners are like shouting, over their AirPods.
That's why we need
like,
comments.
Yeah. But yeah, like Dream Team. Anything like that. Like I feel like I'm on a game show and I'm just I was like,
come on, give it to me.
Can't think. So what were the 4 things again? Because I think it's interesting that he made them very hard to remember.
Yeah. Feels familiar. Feels familiar. Feels true. No, notice that I didn't say is true.
Yes.
Is familiar. I said feels familiar, feels true, feels good, and feels effortless. So all four of those are the conditions of using cognitive ease. People gravitate towards that. That's from the system one brain, I guess.
See, that's like I was trying to come up with an acronym for that, and I just like give me 30 minutes and I'll have an acronym for that.
Mm-hmm.
But like what would be really good is start with effortless. So that'd be an E, and then like I would go with like ease.
Right.
And that'd make an acronym out of ease. See, that's my copywriter brain kicking in. Like, so.
Here's a little a phrase that he uses an example in the book.
Good.
Woes unite foes. Okay, so that's easy to
Cool.
remember, right? Because it
Yeah.
rhymes. Woes unite foes. So if you use that same phrase and you said woes unite enemies, it's probably not going to be as memorable,
Right?
not going to stick out as much.
And it doesn't have to, like, even if it rhymes. So misery loves company, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a rhyme at the end of the words,
Right?
right? You got the Y at the end, or the NY at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So that works too.
Yeah. And it's funny. I heard somebody say one time that, like, if you're a podcast guest or if you're giving a talk, if you can have your 3 points either alliterated or rhyme or anything like that,
yeah,
the level of like a belief goes just through the roof.
Through the roof, yeah,
absolutely. Because it sounds planned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's why preachers use 3-point sermons that are alliterated or rhyme or whatever, because it just seems more thought out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know that I like reading John Maxwell. He's got some of those Maxwell sayings.
Yeah.
If you read any of his writings and if you follow him, he's big on leadership and management and things like that. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of these people, in their writing, in their talks, in their speeches, they're fantastic. They do an amazing job because they use alliterations. They use sayings that rhyme like this. Here's another. Little strokes will tumble great oaks. Okay. Little strokes will tumble great oaks, as opposed to little strokes will tumble great trees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's like, yeah, as soon as you say it, it's like, even if it's not something I've heard before, or even it's not catchy, it definitely feels, to use his word.
Yep.
It feels true. It feels familiar.
Right.
Feels good. Like it doesn't bring up any like, oh, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Right. It
no,
feels good.
Right.
But
if we hadn't, if like I said, if we had said little strokes will tumble a forest of trees or trees or a forest over time, it's like, okay, so
yeah, it doesn't, it doesn't
doesn't
click the same way.
Effect.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the same part of the brain, which is the whole point, right? So,
right.
So, I mean, that's a great tip. So if you're doing a presentation, if you're writing an email, and obviously you don't want to overdo these. You don't want like 10 of these in a short email. Then it's just weird. Like that's one thing. Whenever you know a tactic, you can't overuse it.
Sure.
Here's another rhyme. A tactic known is a tactic blown.
There you go.
So
there you go.
So you want to just keep, use it one time, like your key where you really want to drive home a point, or where you really want people to get them nodding yes. That's where you would throw in one of these rhymes.
Right.
Like you could come up probably with 2 or 3 phrases that you say a lot in your manufacturing pitches and things like that, where you could get them to rhyme, where people are like, oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
This guy's smart. So, something around, whatever. I don't know your business well enough, but
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff you can brainstorm when you're driving in the car and you're,
absolutely,
you're out for a walk or in the gym. That's when this kind of stuff, like if you sit down and try to do it, it's a little bit harder if you're not used to it. But this is where a thesaurus comes in handy,
oh, absolutely. And
all that kind of stuff.
And I do a lot of well, I haven't been lately, for the last month and a half, but I travel about two to 3 days a week traveling to clients, manufacturing clients all over my area. So, sometimes I'll have like 3 or 4 hours of drive time. So if I'm listening to something and, it's something that I can use a powerful phrase or something I hear listening to an ad or something like that, I can grab my phone in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Click on the Evernote, Evernote. If you don't use Evernote, you're crazy. I love Evernote because it's got even an audio app on the Evernote app that you can just record notes into. So I love using something like that, just to record some notes into without having to write down anything while I'm driving. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. All right. So what else? So you talked about,
let's see. So another thing is, another using that cognitive ease, creating a good mood. Okay.
okay.
It says people certainly have to perform tasks that are anything but fun. However, if the jobs can be combined with something pleasant, completing them becomes easier and can even be a pleasure. Cleaning the windows can suddenly become fun with the right music, or dropping off recycling less erroneous if you treat yourself to some ice cream from the sand. So, that's the whole point is in other words, using some imagery that puts people in a good mood, music that puts people in a good mood, within your copy or your writing, anything that would help to move that person forward. You're going to be your task is a lot easier if you can somehow use imagery or something like that that gets them in the right frame of mind.
Well, we see this all the time, right? With, stage speakers,
Yep.
or, they play good music, and
Right.
there's, get the lights flashing and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. I mean, Tony Robbins will spend an hour
Oh
doing
yeah.
that,
Yep.
before he ever comes out on stage. And what's he call? I mean, he calls it, he gets
Oh
everybody
yeah.
primed,
Absolutely. And I've
and
been to Brendan Bouchard.
yeah, same way.
He does the same thing, and he's like, I mean, he doesn't put he I mean, he's got like hip hop music going. So like I've been to like his two of his events in the past. And so, and this, I mean, he gets you before he even comes out on stage. He's got the music blaring, he's got people jumping up and down. So
Yep.
the energy level is an all-time high when he gets on there. And then what he does is kind of stoke the fire even more by
Yeah.
just kind of like jumping or just moving around on stage and getting everybody jumping up and down and stuff like that. So it's like, you're absolutely right. The priming effect is is well, they know exactly what they're doing to get people in the right mood and the right frame of mind.
I'll tell you, one of the greatest examples I saw of this, kind of in an unexpected context, is
Mm-hmm.
I was going through a membership. I was going through a program, and in the member site, had all the lessons and things like that.
Yep.
And this guy started each lesson with like a 60 to 90-second motivational, those motiversity type videos on YouTube,
Oh
like with
yeah.
the
Yeah.
speakers and the
Yep.
cinematic and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. He put one of those, like he had these made,
Yeah.
and they're like 60 to 90 seconds, and they kind of cover the topic or a mindset or an
Mm-hmm.
attitude that you would need as you're going through this module.
Right.
So like the first 60 seconds or so of every module was that. So you like and it made consumption of the material so much better. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah.
exactly this, like priming you to be in a good mood
Sure.
to consume,
Yep.
which made you want to consume the next piece.
Mm-hmm.
And, an important thing when you're selling either a membership site or anything else is retention, and one of the hardest things to do is to actually get people to consume the information.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't consume, they're not going to stick around. Right. So
Right.
the more you can get people to consume, the better customers they are long term. The longer they
Yep.
stay, the more they
Right.
upsell, all that stuff. So I thought that was like a great little trick.
Mm-hmm.
Throw like a little motivational video
Yeah.
at the top of your presentation, or,
Oh, absolutely.
whatever. And it kind of sets the mood.
Yep.
It feels a little cheesy at first, like, but you know, it's like we're talking about, it's system one. So the brain, you're not going to, people can think it's cheesy, but it's still going to work
Yeah.
because it's system one.
Yeah.
It's going to go right through and hit the good mood centers.
See, the people, you're listening to this right now and you're trying to use your system two mind to critique this.
Right. See if it's a good idea or not. Yeah.
Right. To see if it's a good idea. But that's the problem, is that you're trying to use your system two mindset to analyze this and to see when that's not the way it works, is because we're hit with messages. And in fact, we're bombarded with messages every day, so much that we're using our system one brain most of the time.
That's one reason that a lot of like brand new copywriters, brand new salespeople, they do so well because they just use the tactics and they haven't overthought them yet.
Sure.
And a lot of those old tactics, like, they still work.
Yeah.
But we think,
but we get tired of them ourselves, because we're writing them and we're like, golly, I've just worn this out.
Yeah. So then we try to shortcut it or make it better, quote better. But the fact is that a lot of this stuff still works.
Yeah. Here's another, simplifying the steps in a process, removing the steps. Think about this. Are there too many steps in your purchasing process, within your business? If there is, then you got a problem. So it's the old marketing acumen. You give people too many choices or too many things to do, and they end up leaving. They'll either do nothing, they'll leave your webpage, they'll walk away. So, again, cognitive ease is simplifying the process. It's not just in how you write things, but it's also in how you get them in your writing to the next step, is to create a really simple process in order for you to get from sales page to the checkout line.
Yeah. And simple process is also like, I've been doing some audits on people's websites and their funnels.
Sure.
And one of the things that I see a lot is, because they built the funnel over different periods or whatever, and they've kind of pieced it together. Like the opt-in page will have one set of colors. The landing page will have another set, maybe a different version of the logo, and you lose like this congruency.
Yeah.
So what happens is your brain has to create all these decision points. Like, is this the same place I just was? Like, is this the same company?
Right.
And it's got all these little micro decisions it has to make, and you get decision fatigue going into the funnel.
Sure.
Instead of simplifying it, the steps that your brain has to go through, not literal steps of the website, but just the steps your brain has to go through. If you can keep everything looking very similar, it makes everything smoother.
Yeah.
So, it's my wife and daughter were the other night. I come down to downstairs and they're like hunched over the computer and they're like frustrated. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, my daughter was trying to buy this purse that she wanted, handbag, excuse me.
Sure. Yeah.
Online, and they couldn't get it to go through because the site had like this extra layer of security where you had to like do something, like the MasterCard trust thing or something like that.
Yep.
And it was like 2 extra steps, and it kept messing up. It kept freezing. And it's like, I mean, they ended up spending way too long, ended up frustrated.
Yeah.
Finally got it. So it didn't stop the sale, but it would have stopped most people.
Sure.
Yep. So that kind of little stuff, like, you think you're adding a layer of protection, security for your people, you may actually be hurting your own sales.
You are.
And by the way, that company is going out of business. Just so.
Wow.
It's called Macy's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heard about that. Didn't they file for was it chapter 11 or one of those chapters this week?
Yeah. So that's why everything was on sale. So
good time to buy.
Yeah. But it's probably little decisions like that over the years in different ways that have made it very difficult for people to buy.
Sure.
One of the best, simplifying steps, I think, can also mean, I don't remember what he wrote in the book, but simplifying steps can also just be letting people know what's coming. And, Dan Kennedy was always big on that. Like, tell them exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
From the sales page through the next steps. Like, Mary from customer service is going to get your order and she's going to send you an email, and then blah, 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 all that stuff. And there's just a feeling of safety in that people They know
Yeah,
what's
and
coming.
that would probably fall into like priming,
Yeah.
because you're kind of priming someone before they buy.
Yeah.
And, because that's when you're making someone more open to your offer or idea, and you're suggesting what's going to happen beforehand. So you're
Yeah.
using kind of some of those the simplest language to kind of prime them before. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. And
Yeah, there's some future pacing going on in there. There's a lot of
yep,
different stuff
yep,
going on.
yep.
So you said there was 4 things. What was I think there was I think there was 4 overall sections, or was that just the first section?
I think that was just the first section. Let's see. I'll go back to.
You talked about like the effortless, true, good, familiar. Then you said good mood, and then you said simplifying steps. Was there anything else in that section?
Let me pull it up here. I kind of I moved away from, let's see, that list here. Oh, here it is. Feeling familiar, feels true, feels good, feels effortless.
Right.
And that's the outcome. So
Right.
so no, I mean the main summary of that is the 4 factors are repeated experience, clear display, primed idea, which we talked about, good mood. We didn't really touch on clear display. Clear display is making sure, and I'll give you an example because I wanted to bring this up anyway. So I got this today. Dan Kennedy, and yes, he's still alive. He's still alive and kicking.
Are we sure? Do we really know?
I'm assuming everything that I've heard, he's back at it. This guy's made a miraculous recovery, and he's back at it again. But anyway, so I get this flyer. I get this flyer in the mail today.
Was that like 11 by 16 probably? 11 by 17?
Yeah, I would say it's probably, I would think this would be about 16. Yeah. 11 by 16. That would make sense because it's much bigger, definitely bigger than 8.5 by 11 for sure.
Yeah.
But it's stuffed in the mailbox today. And so I unfold it. And at the top, it's just, all it is a one sheet. Mm-hmm. It's got some copy on the back, but it says on the very front, it's got the little caricature of Dan. 7 huge reasons why you need to drop everything you're doing right now and rejoin, because I used to be a member, rejoin the herd at Magnetic Marketing, the No BS Inner Circle. So he lays it out, just kind of from a graphic standpoint, he lays it out, 1 point, 2 point, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 reasons here on this one sheet that I can go through.
It's almost like a big infographic.
Yeah, it is.
As opposed to a sales letter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
So simplicity, we were just talking about how to lay things out clearly, how you can display things, more clearly so that people can, and I thought this was really good because I actually spent some time, because it was so simple. It was graphically, it had some of the graphics on there. It was kind of appealing to look at, and it was simple. It appealed to the system 1 brain, part of my brain, that, I picked this up out of the mailbox, and it was easy. You get, those sales letters when you open it up and there's like, there's like 6 pages, right? Yeah. So you're not going to, if you're in a time crunch or you've got something going, or you're in the middle of lunch or something, you go pull the mail, you're going to kind of set that aside. Whereas this, I picked it up, and as soon as I opened it, it was so simple. The display was clear. Yep. And so I started reading. I started going through the little graphic, all the graphics and all the points that he made on here, which I thought was really good. So great example. And then he has some, obviously some copy on the back. After you go through the simplicity, you go through the system 1 and you get kind of primed. On the back, he says the headline on the back says the professor of harsh reality rides again. Dan Kennedy is back in the saddle, contributing to our magnetic marketing community after a near brush with death. His wisdom is needed now more than ever. So I guess that answers your question, right?
There you go. Yeah. I think we said on the tribute episode that if he returned, he would use every bit of that for marketing.
Oh, you got it, man. And here he
So,
is.
yeah.
There he is back in the saddle. That's not him, by the way.
Yeah, no. His would have a cart behind it. His horse. He'd be sitting in the whatever that thing's called.
But still, I like this because of simplicity and clear. You know, it's if I had gotten the typical Dan Kennedy envelope, you know, the thick envelope with the mailer and everything,
Yeah.
I probably at certain times you love that stuff, but at times like, you know, there's certain times where you don't have time for it and you kind of brush it aside, or you dump it, or you may save it for some swipe file material later. You don't get to it. This is something you can get to right away because it's simple.
So here's the question. Did they get you back?
There's some offers on the front that I'm like, I don't know if they've repurposed some products on there, but they didn't look familiar that I've seen before that I looked at and like, that might be interesting. I might actually take a look at that.
So you would rejoin, but it'd be for the bonuses, not for
the bonuses. Exactly.
Interesting.
Yep.
Very, very interesting. Well, we've been going a while. We want to wrap it there. You want to?
Yeah, I think that's a good stopping place, and then we'll pick up on our next episode. We've got some is it a flight of persuasion?
Random persuasionness. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Hopefully I've got a better beer. I can unfortunately I'll have to say the Founders Agave did not get any better, and I'm gonna have to keep that at 1. So
I don't remember you taking a sip. You were doing a lot of the talking. Did you take another sip?
I did.
Okay.
I did take took a few more sips, and
you're not taking another one.
And you know how you always say your famous saying, Sean, when the you know when the beer is empty, that it's time. Look at that. The beer is not empty.
Mine is. So
I'm gonna have to.
That was good.
I don't know if I'll be.
And it's strong. I can feel that one already.
4.5. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So.
All right, guys. Well, it's been fun episode. You can find us over at Persuasion by the Pint. For all of our listeners, send us an email if you like to reach out to us, get some comments on the show, reach out to us through our contact page. As always, Sean, it's been fun, man. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Good stuff. That was perfect timing. All right, I'm going to grab my beer and be right back.
All right.
Ooh, had to cleanse the palate there.
Pretty rough, huh?
That was
I think that's
terrible.
I think that's the first one you've not finished.
Yeah.
So that says a lot.
First Founders ever.
Hope that wasn't one of the $25 Founders.
It was at Total Wine. It was I think it was like a $3 bottle. So not too much out there. So I don't know what I'm doing on the flight. I'm on a flight, but you got some stuff?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me just sending you these two beer links so that you
Ooh, all right.
have them.